Big trouble is brewing in Los Angeles, and the Rams are facing a massive dilemma that could jeopardize their entire offensive line strategy. A key starter has just been hit with serious legal allegations, putting the team in an impossible position and leaving the front office scrambling for an immediate replacement. We are looking at potential long-term suspensions and a roster void that needs to be filled right now. Could this lead to a major free agent signing or a surprising shakeup? Don't miss this breakdown. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts below. Alaric Jackson is the focus of a major development for the Los Angeles Rams following reports on Tuesday morning that the starting left tackle was arrested on felony domestic battery charges. The details surrounding this incident remain emerging, but the organization must now prepare for a future on the field without him. Beyond the football implications, the situation involves serious allegations, specifically that Jackson allegedly put his hands on a woman and left scratch marks. While his official status with the team remains under evaluation, the NFL personal conduct policy is a significant factor in how the front office proceeds. The policy dictates that violations involving assault, battery, or domestic violence carry a baseline 6-game suspension, regardless of a criminal conviction. Additionally, the commissioner could place the player on the exempt list. This development is particularly complex because it is not a first-time occurrence for Jackson. He served a 2-game suspension in 2024 for a previous personal conduct policy violation involving non-consensual recording. Due to this history, he could face a minimum suspension ranging from 6 to 8 games. The team currently navigates a massive $25.4 million cap hit for Jackson in 2026. And while they have an out in his contract after this season, releasing him now would result in $23.4 million in dead money. With approximately $19 million in available cap space, the Rams have the financial flexibility to explore alternatives if they determine a change is necessary. As the team assesses these difficult circumstances, fans are reminded of the intensity surrounding the squad's path forward, often echoing the sentiment to "ram it" as they adjust to the sudden shift in roster stability and the professional challenges that lie ahead for the entire franchise. The focus turns to how the Rams will handle the void at left tackle, with several external free agents serving as potential solutions. Joe Noteboom is a name that makes the most sense due to his familiarity with the scheme and his 7-year history with the organization, including 35 starts. Although he spent last year as depth for the Baltimore Ravens, he offers the experience required for a transition. Another possibility is Taylor Decker, who was released by the Detroit Lions this offseason. Decker brings significant experience, but had previously considered retirement after dealing with shoulder pain. For the Rams, he could provide an immediate starting option with familiarity with Matthew Stafford, potentially allowing Alaric Jackson to shift to a depth role if he returns later in the season. Meanwhile, DJ Humphries remains an option given his history with the team, though his previous performance in a lone start was inconsistent. The market for offensive tackles is notably thin, making these veterans the most viable external paths for the front office to consider as they weigh their options. Why does this matter right now for the team? The answer lies in the protection of the quarterback and the overall cohesion of the offensive line unit. Losing a starting left tackle creates an immediate tactical deficit that forces the coaching staff to juggle personnel at the most critical spot on the line. Depth is a luxury the Rams currently lack at this position, and the uncertainty surrounding the length of a potential suspension necessitates a swift evaluation of whether to pursue a veteran free agent or shift existing players. Relying on players without sufficient starting experience could compromise the effectiveness of the entire offensive operation during the 2026 season. Internal options remain on the table, though the potential for a significant roster shift is high. If the Rams decide against signing a free agent, they might move Warren McClendon to left tackle and assign Keegan Trost to the right tackle spot. This is far from an ideal situation, as it would effectively force the team to change both tackle positions simultaneously. The original plan for 2026 relied on McClendon continuing his development at right tackle, where he performed last season, and using Trost primarily as depth. Altering this plan creates a ripple effect, moving 2 players to roles where they have limited NFL experience. Alternatively, the team could look at David Quessenberry, who has veteran experience, though he spent most of the previous year on the practice squad. If the Rams choose to keep McClendon on the right side, Quessenberry represents the most logical choice to step in at left tackle, though his long-term viability remains a question mark. The trade market is considered the least likely scenario, as few teams are willing to part with offensive line depth in a league where starting caliber tackles are extremely scarce. While some players like Walker Little of the Jacksonville Jaguars have seen reduced playing time, their teams still prioritize their value as experienced insurance plans. The Rams have previously found success with trades, but those instances are rare. Ultimately, the absence of Alaric Jackson forces a high-stakes recalibration of the offensive front, shifting the focus from individual player stability to the collective ability of the unit to hold its ground under new configurations that were never part of the initial training camp strategy for the current season. The salary cap situation plays a critical role in the team's decision-making process regarding Alaric Jackson. With $19 million in cap space currently available, the organization has the liquidity to sign a veteran like Taylor Decker or Joe Noteboom, if they deem it necessary to stabilize the position quickly. However, the financial weight of Jackson's current contract, which features a $56.3 million value over 3 years, limits the options for a clean break. Carrying $23.4 million in dead money is a substantial hurdle that would impact roster construction for the remainder of the year. The front office must determine if the cost of an immediate replacement outweighs the risk of moving forward with existing internal personnel. The league's disciplinary timeline will be the most influential factor, as a definitive ruling on the suspension will dictate exactly how many weeks the team must cover at the position. If the potential suspension is on the higher end of the 6 to 8 game estimate, the pressure to add an experienced body from the free agent market increases significantly. The internal uncertainty is compounded by the fact that Alaric Jackson has been the primary stabilizer on the blind side, and his potential absence leaves a vacuum that neither Quessenberry nor the combination of McClendon and Trost can easily fill without risking a regression in pass protection. Consequently, the team is balancing its immediate financial commitments against the long-term goal of keeping the offensive line intact. Every decision made in the coming days must account for both the immediate impact on the 2026 schedule and the long-term cap implications that arise from the unfortunate situation surrounding the player, ensuring that the organization stays competitive despite the sudden and drastic loss of a key starting offensive lineman. The final path forward for the Rams remains centered on how they choose to manage the void created by the potential suspension of Alaric Jackson. While internal shuffling is the most budget-friendly move, the potential for a drop-off in production at the tackle spots is an obvious concern for the organization. If they opt to utilize Warren McClendon or David Quessenberry, they are effectively betting on the versatility of their current reserves to handle the pressures of an NFL game. Conversely, if they dip into the free agent pool to bring in a player like Taylor Decker or Joe Noteboom, they are prioritizing experience to minimize the disruption to the offense, specifically for Matthew Stafford. The decision relies heavily on the team's assessment of how quickly they need to stabilize the left tackle position and whether they believe their current roster can weather the storm without an external addition. As facts continue to emerge regarding the legal situation, the team's strategy will likely remain fluid, adjusting to the legal developments and the eventual ruling from the NFL regarding a suspension. For now, the roster status of Alaric Jackson is the definitive storyline, and his situation serves as a stark reminder of how quickly team plans can change in the professional sports landscape. The organization faces the challenge of maintaining focus on the upcoming games while dealing with the fallout of an incident that has implications far beyond the gridiron. The coaching staff and the front office are now tasked with the delicate balance of protecting the team's integrity while ensuring that they have the best possible personnel on the field to execute their offensive scheme for the remainder of the 2026 campaign.